Clerk? Okay. Okay.
Roll call.
Yeah, go ahead and call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess?
Here.
Councilman Maldonado? Councilman Williams? Councilwoman Fairclough?
Here.
Councilwoman Waldman? Vice Mayor Shelley?
Here.
Mayor Porter?
All right, additions, deletions, and deferrals. Okay, is there a motion to add car number 1065, bowling alley property discussion to the agenda?
Move it.
Do I have a second? Is there a second for the bowling alley discussion? I can second it, right? I'll second it. All in favor to move it onto the agenda? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thought we were talking to ourselves.
All right. So it carries. Carries. All right, staff report.
You're the only one that voted.
I know. No, I asked for a nay and no one said nay, so I carried it all.
Staff
George.
report?
Can we, this staff report on the bowling alley discussion?
Well, let's see. We had quite a meeting about this the last time, and the direction was, or at least the understanding was, that we bring it back as an open discussion to figure out where you want to go from here.
Okay. So at this point, do we know where the rest of the colleagues are? Because I think it'd be better to have the majority of the council here in order to get some sort of direction or feeling of where we want to do or what we want to go with this particular item. Or the other option is to, I guess, skip it and come back later. Okay. All right, I guess let's skip it, I guess, and move on. I don't know. Go on to discussion item tab 1, car number 1048, news rack regulations ordinance. Staff report.
Thank you. David Hennis with Development Services. Staff has identified a proliferation of news racks located within the public rights-of-way. Uncontrolled placement and improper location of these news racks has created significant negative impacts, can't hear me, upon the city, resulting from the lack of maintenance, abandonment, and creation of hazardous public health and safety conditions. In order to properly address these negative impacts upon the city and provide for proper and efficient maintenance and intended use of public rights-of-way, staff has determined the adoption of news rack regulations are necessary in order to establish standards and procedures regarding the permitting, installation, placement, size, type, and appearance of news racks. And included within your staff report and the car is a draft ordinance for establishing these procedures and regulations.
Move it.
A quick question on this particular item. As far as cost, have we done like a cost analysis? As far as what it would cost the particular applicant coming forward for a news rack? And I guess I'm more concerned about more the newspaper, the press, the media, as far as what it costs per newspaper rack, per permit. Is it per item, or is it for, you apply for one permit and then it's across the board?
Yes, it's just a one-time permit fee that the applicant would have to submit to the city.
But is it for each stand? Or is it for, you pay one permit fee and then you have 50 stands or 20 stands citywide? How does that work?
It depends on how they submit their application. If they submit an application for multiple stands at one time, it would be a single permit. If they come in subsequent with separate items independently of one another, it would be separate permits.
Okay, and then just one follow-up, and that is, do we know what the approximate cost is for the type of stand that is required under this ordinance?
I'm not sure that we've developed any cost estimates for that. We can make some inquiries and see what we can find out on that.
Okay. Questions from council?
Sir.
Councilman Burgess.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. No, I just wanted to say thank you, because it was several months back that I brought to to our staff's attention what I think is an eyesore as you ride around some of our major arteries. And I'm not necessarily going after the newspapers, but rather these plastic boxes that are just every 20 feet going down Chrome Avenue. But as we took on the project, or as staff took on the project, they have to include everything. So we're not trying to single anybody out, but we're trying to make everybody come to a center point and trying to clean what I see as an eyesore up throughout our community and try to make it a uniform product that people serve, instead of just coming up anywhere and running down the highway and dropping a box every 20, 50 feet, whatever they do, kind of like they were with those donation boxes, if you remember back several, maybe even a year ago now. I can't remember how long ago we started on that, but just trying to clean up what I thought was an eyesore around town.
Any other discussion? Do you need an actual vote on this item because it's a discussion item, or what kind of direction do you need going forward?
Well, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, we can put it on the next meeting for an action item.
Consent agenda, right?
Yeah.
Will it go on the consent, or is this actually going to come through?
No.
This will be an ordinance.
Yeah, two readings,
Yeah,
so it needs
just
to
be
go.
next on the council meeting.
Okay. All right. I'm comfortable with the concept. I think it's a great idea. It's going to help eliminate some of the clutter in the city. But my only concern, if you could maybe, before we actually vote on it for the first time, try to get an idea. There's certain parameters that you're requiring as far as a standard for these news racks to be set up within the city. If you can get an idea of the cost of each one of those, and then try to find out, do our media outlets' current racks somewhat already correspond? Because I also want to make sure that this isn't overly burdensome, just for consideration purposes.
We will certainly do that, and I would note that these are standards that are used pretty much predominantly through major cities and other areas of the country, so it's not out of line with what other places are doing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And we'll go back to the...
So just to clarify,
Yes, sir.
are we putting it on the next council meeting, or did you want us to contact media publications first?
Is the direction of the council to put it on the next council meeting for consideration as an ordinance?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Yes for me.
Let's go back to CAR 1065, bowling alley property discussion. As was stated before, at the last council meeting, we had a quite lengthy debate about what to do with the bowling alley property. There was not a meeting of the minds. We didn't have four of us that had the same opinion to direct staff to take a particular action. So the concept was to bring it back up for discussion here at the committee of the whole, to further hash it out if we can find some direction where we can all move in the same direction. And so with that, I will open it up to discussion for my colleagues.
I move that we have an RFP process to for the bowling alley only. I'm only interested in the potentials of a bowling alley for the property.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Second by Councilman Maldonado. Discussion on the motions?
Vice Mayor,
Yeah. Councilwoman Waldman.
I agree with that motion. However, because we already have such a good contract on the table, could we add to that to say that we would like someone who would personally guarantee for 8 years?
Absolutely.
I mean,
I
we
accept
need-
that as an amendment, friendly
Yes.
amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Personally, my opinion, just to weigh in on this, which I think I've stated many times before, I'm okay with an RFP, but I'm a little concerned about the bowling alley only requirement restriction, because I think we've had many discussions about bowling alleys over the last 3 or 4 years now. And what I've found is that each time we have an offer made on a bowling alley, we don't get much of a better deal than what we currently got proposed. 500,000, 800,000, 900,000. The numbers aren't very high. So I don't know that we'll get much better of an offer than we've gotten in the past if we limit it to bowling alleys only. So that's my only concern. What I'd prefer to see is an RFP that's more wide open, that can also include bowling alleys or entertainment centers or any other use. And then at the end of that RFP, I feel we'd have a very good idea of what the market is, what the other uses are, and ultimately we may still choose to subsidize bowling, but we will know what we've left on the table, if anything. So that would be my position. Any other further comments from council?
Sir.
Councilman Burgess?
No, I would second yours. I think we need to open it up and get a true opportunity to the city and its citizens to see what somebody is willing to pay for this piece of property and bring whatever type of business that they think they would want to bring there. So I would second, if you're making a motion, I'd
Point
second
of
it.
order, it's
Well, yeah,
already
my
a motion on the
unfortunately, there's
floor.
already a motion
I
on the
understand,
floor,
but,
so.
I mean, if you're looking for
There's
that,
there's a motion on the
Yes.
floor to
well,
go out
vote
for an
on it.
RFP for a
Call for a
bowling alley.
vote.
Right. And question, just clarification on,
If
Call for
there's
vote.
if there's a suggestion by the vice mayor to amend the motion, you can make a motion to amend that motion, and then it requires a second, and that'll be voted on first, and then
right,
here.
correct,
I
correct.
already have an amendment. The first motion.
So there would be two amendments.
Correct, and that's why I want to get clarification on the first motion first, and that is currently they're put out as a bowling alley. Was there a time frame? Was there a, Councilman Williams? Councilman Williams, was there a time frame on the RFP, or was it just an RFP for bowling with staff to determine the time?
I'd like to amend my motion. So, Richard, the person who seconded will have to withdraw it.
It actually belongs to the floor. What you want to do is just replace you're going to replace the original motion.
So,
Would I have to withdraw my motion?
Pardon, technically, once a motion's made and seconded, it
belongs to the
doesn't
body.
belong to that person anymore, it belongs to the body.
so I'll keep it as is.
So do you want to move to amend the motion?
Right, to have my motion is that we do a RFP
Right.
for the bowling alley. Also include that is a commitment for 8 years.
Right, and then there's an amendment by Councilman Waldman to require, so that was the original motion. Then
Right.
there's an amendment by Councilman Waldman, which has been seconded, to include a requirement that there be a personal guarantee guaranteeing the 8 years of bowling. Okay,
Right.
that's where it stands now. Councilman Shelley was talking about amendment, but it was not actually made, and you're talking about perhaps another amendment.
Right. Yeah, I'll make my amendment, but first let's get this motion in the current form. So we can have a vote on the current amendment for the personal guarantee.
What we need to do is finish up with all of the amendment process, and then we'll vote on, you vote on them one at a time.
Fine.
So if there's some other amendment to the motion as amended, you're free to make it at this time, or otherwise.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and make that motion, then I'll recognize Councilwoman Waldman.
But it has to do with
Yeah, first let me make this motion. I'm going to make a motion to amend the RFP to not be restricted for bowling alley use, but to instead be open for any use.
Second that.
Okay, so there's a second by Councilman Burgess.
Okay, let me just catch up my notes.
Okay.
So I can remember what you guys did.
Can I just say
And
something
go ahead,
before we
well,
vote?
Well, I just
let me
wanted
get Councilwoman Waldman, and I'll come back to you.
I just wanted to say that 90 days, Mr. Williams, I don't know if you said that or not, but a 90-day RFP, is that what you said? I
I
couldn't
did
hear
not.
you.
No.
So we want to add that
Okay.
in, I would assume.
Well, this is controversial, so I'm going to try to do it correctly, to a little bit be more strict than we usually are. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to go out for an RFP for a bowling alley. That's it. That was the first one. Now there's an amendment to that to add requirement that there's a personal guarantee for 8 years. Okay. Now, those are the only two amendments at the moment that are on the floor. If you wish to add the 8 years to it, or the 90 days to it,
90 days.
okay, well, I think there's, just to facilitate this, is there a motion to amend the original?
Yeah, we have my motion too.
You have
but
your motion.
Is there a faster way to do this? Can we clear the table and start over?
Unfortunately,
Well, I tried that.
I know.
Unfortunately not. This is the right, I'll get you through
Okay.
this. Okay.
Okay.
So you have a motion to have it not be only for a bowling alley.
Right, not to be restricted to a bowling alley use.
Okay. Now, there's another motion in the wind, which is to add to the conditions of the RFP that it be a 90-day RFP process and that it be for a period of 8 years, correct?
For personal guarantee.
And the personal guarantee is already there. So that's, you making that motion?
Yes.
Okay, so we need a
Okay.
second to that motion.
Councilman Maldonado seconded.
Hold on one second. Okay, that's where we are now.
Okay, perfect. Councilwoman Faircloth.
I just think we're going to keep going in circles.
about this property. I am committed to bringing bowling back to the city of Homestead because a lot of residents have contacted me about bowling, but in the spirit of compromise, I am in support of just opening the RFP up, non-restricted to bowling, see what offers we get, and if there's something else that is a better offer, then we move forward with it. But I am committed to bowling, so that there's a great bowling offer on the table that I feel comfortable moving with, then I'll support it. But in order to move forward, just open it up. What is it going to hurt us at this point?
Otherwise, everything's...
So the way to, if you could have more discussion about this, or we can start calling them the roll
Right.
on these different things, and you'll sort of find out what's happening.
Okay, let's see, is there any discussion on the motion and all the various amendments?
I have one comment.
Councilwoman Waldman.
Over the many years that we've been talking about selling this, I'll just call it piece of property, anybody's been offered the opportunity to come forth with any kind of proposal, even though we said that it was supposed to be for entertainment purposes. It never stopped anybody from contacting the city or contacting the whoever was sitting in the CRA at the time, because at one point we thought it was part of the CRA, then we find out it's, you know, I mean, this is just ongoing. So the reason that I was happy to hear that motion made by Mr. Williams is that we can once and for all eliminate so much of the time by finding out, do we have a viable offer that we can agree upon? And I left the meeting last time, so I wasn't here at the end, but I understand it was the process Ms. Fairclough was concerned about was the bidding process. So now we have a motion for a 90-day RFP. We have a contract somewhere in a file that has an 8-year personal guarantee. So I would like to see that voted on. I mean, I'm sorry, but you know, what is that going to do for you when you say, well, let's see what no disrespect, but what is that going to do? You know, again, as a realtor and somebody who deals with appraisals all the time, we've talked about this endlessly. Of course it's going to appraise more if it's a property that somebody can go in and do anything they want to do with it. If they want to build a shopping center, if they want to build a whatever, you know, a lounge or whatever they want to do with it. But if we're seriously talking about bowling, to shorten the overall process after the 90 days, then let's try to do what we have all said we wanted to do. So I'm going to support the motion and the many amendments that were made regarding a bowling alley only. And I hope my colleagues do the same.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll start.
Okay, let me just be clear so you know what you're voting on each time.
Right.
Okay, we're going to go the last to the first. So the first motion is there's a motion to amend the original motion to provide for a 90-day RFP and a guarantee of 8 years of bowling. That's the first thing you're voting on.
Personal gain.
No. We didn't get to there yet. The personal guarantee is the first motion you made. We'll get there. So that's the first motion that was made. That was that was the last amendment that was made.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call the roll on the amendment.
Is everybody clear on what you're voting on?
Please tell us.
Okay, what you're voting on is, these are all changes to Councilman Williams' motion. First one is the first one you're voting on is to add to it the fact that the RFP is out for 90 days and that there's 8 years of guaranteed bowling. That's the first thing you're clarifying on his motion. So that's what you're voting on next.
Okay. No.
Councilwoman Fairclough.
Didn't you add an amendment to that also?
We're going to get to that.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll get to that.
That'll be
You'll
next.
have the opportunity to amend it.
Okay.
Councilman Williams?
What's the amendment again?
90 days and 8 years.
Aye.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
No.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
No.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
No.
Motion
Okay,
failed.
So that fails. Okay, so that is, okay, the next one was to amend Councilman Williams' motion to open it, to not restrict it to bowling. That's what this motion is. To not restrict it to bowling, to put out an RFP which is not restricted to bowling. That was the amendment that was made by the Vice Mayor and seconded by Councilman Burgess. It's the motion, vote on that.
Councilwoman Fairclough.
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman.
No.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado.
No.
Councilman Williams.
No.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
Yes.
Okay, so that fails as well. So now you're voting on, so what's on the floor is now to add to Councilman Williams' original motion, a personal guarantee for 8 years of bowling. Okay, Councilman Williams made a motion to put out an RFP.
Original motion.
What you're voting now on is Councilwoman Waldman's addition to that motion, saying that the RFP should require that the successful operator sign a personal guarantee guaranteeing bowling for 8 years. That's the motion that's on the floor.
Councilwoman Waldman.
Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor Shelley.
No.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilman, who did I miss? Judy?
No, I
Councilwoman
voted.
Waldman.
Mr. Williams.
I'm sorry, I think we need to read. Did you
Yes,
get?
let's read this.
I got confused, and I'm not sure I got this correct.
Okay. Councilwoman Fairclough. We're going to redo the vote.
Okay, let me just clarify again. Councilman Williams made a motion to put out an RFP. This motion would add to that RFP requirement, the requirement that it be, that there be a personal guarantee guaranteeing bowling for 8 years. That's what this motion is.
Okay. Councilwoman Fairclough.
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman.
Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
No.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
No.
Okay, so that passes.
That passes.
Okay, so now you're voting on the motion as been amended. So the motion is to put out an
Wait, so there's another vote?
the final, now you have the
I thought that was it.
No, that was just to add that little piece to it. So here's the final piece, which is you're now voting on Councilman Williams' motion exactly the way it was made, except you're adding to it the requirement that there be a personal guarantee for 8 years.
Well, I'm confused because I just voted because I thought that was final. And
Okay.
I wanted to move forward
We
It
only
is
voted-
moving
without
forward.
deadlocking.
No, it is.
It would have failed if I would have voted no.
What would have failed would be the additional requirement of the 8 year, the guaranteeing it for 8 years. You want to, you can move to reconsider if you'd like to change your vote.
Go ahead.
I mean, this is important. We need to get it right.
Okay.
So on the floor now is Councilman Williams' motion, exactly the way he made it, which was to put out an RFP for the bowling alley, amended by the fact that it's got to be a personal guarantee to operate the bowling alley for 8 years.
Okay. This is the final vote.
This is the final vote. This is bowling.
Bowling only RFP.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough.
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman.
Did you say Waldman? Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
No.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
No.
Okay.
Motion
So
carried.
you've now voted to issue an RFP for bowling only with a personal guarantee of 8 years.
Right.
Now that that motion is passed, I would suggest if there's some direction to the manager as to how long the RFP should be on the street, that motion previously failed, the 90 days. If you wanted to give him some direction as to how long the RFP should be on the street.
Any discussion from council?
I would
Councilman Burgess.
I'll put a number up there, 120 days, because I know Jerry said that at our past meeting, they were very busy and had many things out there, so in order to help our staff, 90 days failed. We had a discussion earlier that a shorter time frame really put them in a particularly bad position, so since it's passed and that's the direction we're going, I'll say 120 days.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Second. Discussion. Councilwoman Waldman?
Well, I was going to suggest 60 to 90 days because I know that we can do it in that time frame. And the 45 I know would have been too quick, but Gary, I've seen you do it before.
Through the manager, I would definitely need at least 90 days. I would ask for. And we'll try to expedite it quicker if we can. But to be fair, we would need those 90 days.
Then I would lean to 90 days rather than 120.
Any further discussion? Councilwoman Faircloth?
Beyond the just for RFP only, because I have some other feedback.
Yeah, this is to deal with a motion that's on the table for 120 days to give direction to staff. No additional discussion. Go ahead and call the question.
Councilman Maldonado?
Okay, it's coming to vote. There's no
This
more
is keeping
discussion.
the this is on the motion to have the RFP on the street for 120 days.
Or actually, do you need a formal motion on this, or is this just direction
Well,
to?
all of this is a direction to staff, because as you know, it's a COW meeting, and,
Right.
and you can give direction to staff. So all of this is a direction to staff.
I would just, if we're still discussing this and not voting or anything, I would just say I would agree to the 90-day that Jerry asked, and only because it's still in the bowling alley focus. I think we've been down this road many times, so I couldn't see. I think the 90 days will fit. So
So then you should vote no on the motion that's in
I
effect.
agree, 90 days to.
If I could clarify, that's 90 days on the street, okay?
So you're in the middle of a roll call, I think, Patty.
Councilman Maldonado?
No.
Councilman Williams?
No?
Councilwoman Faircloth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
No?
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
No.
Motion failed.
Okay, so now there's no direction to staff as to how long this should be on the street.
No,
Like to make,
direction.
Well, no, there's nothing yet, because we
There's
haven't,
nothing
the last motion failed, so is there another motion now?
Oh.
You have an additional
All
time
right,
frame.
I'll make a motion for 90 days,
I got the
please.
second here.
Well, 91 days. What's
Hold on.
90 days.
It was a motion to amend the other motion. This is a new motion.
This
I
is
think
I'll
you're
make a
okay.
motion for 90 days.
second it.
All right, motion's second. Call the vote.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes?
Councilwoman Faircloth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Vice Mayor Shelley?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay. Councilwoman Faircloth, I think you had a couple other.
Yes. You mentioned direction on RFP, also pricing. Because I know originally we bound you to $500,000. Since we're opening this up and there are other investors willing to pay more, then I would like in the RFP the most highest and responsive bidder.
City Manager, do you need any additional direction, or?
I would just want to make sure there's a majority for that position, and that's what we'll do.
I'm not sure I understand what,
Okay.
Is it-
So
so
the
you're-
issue is whether the RFP will require the $500,000 or will leave it open as to people can propose it. The way that I see it is that we're looking for proposals where somebody agrees to personally guarantee bowling there for 8 years, and they're going to propose to us basically a price that they want to pay. And I think that's where Councilman Faircloth is moving, and so I think that's the understanding of staff.
And in question on my end on that as well, since we're talking price, I agree. I think it should be an open-ended price. I don't think we should have any preconceived notions of what that value should be. But does that also include anything other than a straight-out buy? Are we still back on leasing if someone were to propose a lease?
I don't think it should be just put together a proposal but not restricted to $500,000.
Right, okay, so then we're saying that it's both a lease or outright purchase. Essentially, any option you can come to the table with is what Councilwoman Waldman.
I'm personally, I mean, I want to move this process. Once we started, I want to move it. I want to keep it going. I mean, it's bad enough. We've been a 7-month process already, and now we're back at the table again. So, in my personal opinion, do not want to see lease at all. And it just complicates things. So, want it, you're going to have to buy it. You're going to have to put your money where your mouth is. So, I personally would not like to see lease in there at all.
Any other discussion,
Yeah,
Councilman
I'm
Williams?
interested in getting it back on the tax roll.
I'm sorry?
I'm interested in getting it back on the tax roll.
Right.
And so I don't, not interested in anything leasing. In a buyout, get it back on the tax roll.
And, yeah, for me, I mean, leasing's fine with me because I actually prefer the leasing method because bowling is, may or may not succeed long-term. I would be more comfortable putting a bowling operator in there with a lease agreement, knowing that at the end of the day, if the model fails, it comes back to the city to be utilized for additional purposes. So I personally prefer the lease, and then I would be able to get on board and support wholeheartedly getting a bowling alley up and operating here in the city of Homestead. However, I will defer to the rest of the council as well. So is there, Councilman Williams?
Yeah. I know we keep going back to the last contract. Didn't we have something in there that stated such, if they did not continue voting, that it will come back?
It had
It did,
a deed restriction.
Deed restriction, right? So what was the deed restriction in there, Mr. Turner?
Deed restrictions that needed to be used for bowling for 8 years.
Right, and then if it
didn't, then we'd have to say they were in breach of the deed restriction. We'd have to go to court and try to get the property back.
Get the property back.
It's not just the getting reverter clause that I'm interested in, it's the subsidy that we're paying, essentially the low price that we may receive, that the last couple prices have been on the table. I don't agree with selling outright as a subsidy, even if they make the 8 years. Essentially it's a windfall that I wasn't happy with. So that's where the leasing is more attractive, not necessarily the reverter. So that's why I'm asking for that.
You were saying lease it to them, the city would still own it, the property. And would it be any consideration for them to buy it at all?
I mean, there could be. That could be on the table as well. I'm not opposed to that at the back end. But I guess what I'm saying is I would be happy with either or. But I guess right now we're trying to get direction on whether or not...
So is this going to be like similar to something like the baseball stadium that we're...
Well, however proposed, what I'm saying...
It is what we do with the baseball stadium.
Right.
We basically leased it to them with an option to purchase. Actually,
But that was a guaranteed purchase price at the end. There wasn't an option in that one, so...
Right.
But at this point, what we need is clarification from the rest of the colleagues on how do you want this to go? Do you want leasing to be an option, or do you only want it to be purchase price only? Because right now, I think we have two that are weighed in purchase price only, one possible leasing. I'm for leasing, so we've got two others that...
And how will we come up with a price point for lease? I mean,
that would be determined at the time of the RFP. Whoever puts together the idea could sell it. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea. I don't know, but do we want to even allow someone to go down that road for the RFP is really what we need to determine now, not whether or not it's a good idea at the backside, not whether the actual deal is a good deal, just whether or not we want anyone to even actually be able to make that offer.
When the proposals would come in, they would be, looked at by staff and evaluated, and you would then make it, if somebody proposed a lease option, you would then look at it and make a determination as to whether you like the purchase option better or whether you like the lease option better, or that's what you would have that in front of you.
Either way, we'll be in litigation. Whether if they put a deed restriction in, or if we had to kick them out the building because of whatever the issues are.
It's a little. I discussed this when we wrote up the document. It's a little easier. We've removed Lillet from the premises, even though we're still litigating with them. It's a little bit easier to get someone out on a lease. A little bit easier. It's still litigation, and it's still going to be trouble. But it's a little easier to get somebody out on a lease versus a purchase. A little bit easier.
A little bit easier.
Yes.
And if I...
Yeah, Councilwoman.
If I didn't mean to interrupt.
What's the lease to buy?
But if I could just say, I mean, it's the ownership. I mean, I'll just give you an example. Somebody who wants a big fancy house, who can't afford to buy a big fancy house, they could go out and rent a big fancy house for very little money compared to what it would cost to purchase that property. So I want investment into this property. I'm not talking about City Hall side, I'm not talking about the old City Hall side, I'm not talking about anything else but this piece of property. And this piece of property, we have been down this road so many times. I want to see somebody go in there, as I said before, put your money where your mouth is, and put the money down, spend your money, make your money count. Because a lease and I don't know if the city attorney will agree with me, but it takes a lot less money getting in on a lease than it does when you have to buy outright. And besides that, when you lease a property, unless you have that money in the bank, you can't get the collateral you can't get a loan, you can't do the things that you need to do. I mean, you can if you have it, the money set aside, but it's very difficult, and it's very difficult to get a commercial loan in the first place. So I'm assuming that anybody that would want a lease would not have their own money to construct and do what they need to do. So it's a very complicated situation.
Well, hold on. Let's get to the people who haven't spoken, because
Go ahead, speak then.
I know, so I'm waiting for them to, because we need to weigh in on this, get a majority one way or another, and then we can move forward. If we don't have a majority, then we'll continue to bat it out. So, do you have a preference, Councilman Maldonado?
No, I'm good. We've been down this road. It's like,
But we need direction. We need at least.
I think somebody should make a motion, and that will clarify where
Okay.
you are.
So, want to make a motion regarding
I'll make a
whether it be,
motion.
okay, Councilman Waldman.
I don't know if it's going to be worded properly, but I would like for it to not include lease.
So the
lease
direction,
opportunity.
the direction to staff is that the RFP should be purchase only and not allow for a lease option proposal.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that?
Well, let me speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Williams.
Said,
I just wanted to say, with us opening it up, even if the proposals that we get in, if there's a lease proposal that we're not comfortable with, we just don't vote for it. It may be a great proposal with the lease option. Just being more inclusive as opposed to exclusive, I think would be the best step moving forward. Just see what it is that's out there, and then we vote on the proposals that's in front of us. That's why I didn't want to restrict it just to the lease option. I think the purchase option would be great if the price is right, but just to see what is out there, what comes before us, and then vote up or down, whether it's the purchase or the lease, I think that would be the best step moving forward. That's why I suggested it.
Right. No, and I agree with Councilwoman Fairclough, because I think that's my position, this whole thing, is that if you don't, as you're not very inclusive, if you're very restrictive on how you put this thing out here, people are always going to call into question whether or not you got the best deal. If you throw it out there and nothing else comes back but the deals that we're getting,
Right.
then we can vote our conscience and know that there's nothing better out there. We've tried our best. So I do agree with that. Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll call the vote on this particular item so we can move forward. All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Waldman.
Okay, so just to be clear,
motion.
we're voting on Councilwoman Waldman's motion that there not be a lease option in the RFP. So if you want a lease option, you vote no. If you are happy with just the purchase option, you vote yes.
Councilwoman Waldman.
Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
No.
Councilman Maldonado.
yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough.
No.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
No,
Motion failed.
that didn't help us any.
Okay.
You okay, Manager?
The motion fails, which,
Vice Mayor, can I make a motion now since it?
Yes, sure, Councilwoman
I'd
Fairclough.
like to make a motion that we leave it more inclusive to include the lease option to see what we get, and then we vote moving forward.
Do we have a
based on our
second
proposals.
for that motion?
Second.
Call the vote.
Who was the second?
Councilwoman Burgess.
Councilman Williams.
No.
Councilwoman Fairclough.
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman,
No.
Councilman Burgess,
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado,
No.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
Yes.
Motion fails.
All right, City Manager, what else do you need direction on? Or-
I would like to make a
Sure, Councilman Waldman.
motion. I would like to make a motion, let me think about this, to include let me make sure I get the, to include a lease purchase.
That's different. That's different.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that the contract would allow for a lease purchase option to be consummated in a 3-year period, a 3-year period.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 2 years.
Second.
I'll ask, okay, we have a second discussion. But my only concern again is why we're getting more and more narrow versus more and more inclusive. I would almost rather just leave it as was, because as we keep, what we're doing is we're foreclosing the different options that may come to us, which I think ultimately is going to defeat the RFP, because we're going to end up having it so narrow and so many different restrictions that no one's going to want to bid. And we're going to be back here having the same discussion 90 days from now, where some of us aren't happy with the process. That's the only concern I have with where we're going down this road. But with that, I'll open it up discussion to any other council. Councilman Waldman.
I'll answer you to that.
Sure.
And that is that we've been going down this road for over 2 years. And everybody knows that this is available. So I would bet to guess that the offers you're going to get are the exact same ones as we've had before. So it will surprise me to see if there's any difference.
I would agree. Based on the fact that we have a restriction as a bowling alley, I don't expect much different response-wise than what we currently have on the table.
So I'm just trying to tighten the ship
So-
up, you know?
Any notes? Go ahead and call the vote.
Councilwoman Fairclough,
No.
Councilwoman Waldman,
Yes.
Councilman Burgess, Councilman Maldonado, Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
No.
Motion fails.
City Manager, what else do you need from us? Or can we move forward?
I need direction.
Yeah.
Want to table this? And
Can I ask a
come
question,
back?
Vice Mayor?
No, you.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Councilwoman
I have a
Waldman.
question, and it's through the manager to Jerry.
Just let it go.
After the
Let it go.
90-day process, realistically, because I know it took 7 to 8 months on each one of the other things that we talked about,
Purchase.
how long do you think it's going to take before we get back to the table with a person or entity?
Through the manager. It really depends on the number of responses we have. Also, since it's an RFP, we're going to have to put a review committee together to sit down and look at all the proposals that come in and go ahead and rank them. Obviously, price is an important factor to council. So we're going to, when we design the RFP, obviously we're going to put some more weight to that. So the number of proposals that come in, how complex they are or not, it may just take a few weeks. It may take a little bit longer.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Williams, yes.
Question. Jerry, what
Yes,
is when you normally put an RFP out, right? We don't give this much direction, do we? I mean, we give some to put up. We said 90-day RFP. Whatever comes back, comes back. Whatever we get, you all get within that 90 days. We now we're narrowing down the scope and saying we want this, and then somebody want a lease purchase. Somebody want. I'm about to just say whatever comes in. It's going to be a bowling alley proposal. So whatever comes in, and Mr. Manager, that's the direction. You know, just whatever the RFP, we gave you the scope. I think we keep going. We're not going to agree. It's 3-3 or 4-2 or however it's going to fall. But whatever comes in, and
Councilman, I think it's a very good point that typically we don't get detailed direction on RFPs. The manager has the authority to issue RFPs without approval. This one, because it's been such a sensitive policy direction, the council has expressed interest in weighing in. If your position is that accept, I mean, am I hearing you're shifting a little bit to accept lease and sale, or?
No, let me repeat myself,
Okay.
because I don't want to have a sidebar with you. What I'm saying is we have not been able to agree about what we want within the parameters of the scope of whether it's a lease or what I'm saying, whatever, it's going to be a bowling alley. It's going to be out there 90 days. Whatever comes in, comes in. Once the team evaluates it, you're going to bring it back before council, and we're going to vote it up or down. I mean, whatever the best proposal is that we believe. So I know you want us to give you all the, but George, it's not working the way you wanted us to work out. So just do what you do.
And I can tell you what my interpretation would be based on what I heard, which is absent direction to exclude options, then that will be silent in the RFP. Restrictions will be silent. So unless 4 of you tell me opposite, at this point, that's the best I can do. I mean, I don't have direction to put the restriction in.
That's fine.
And so,
May I speak again?
Wait.
Councilman Williams, go ahead. Hold
Okay.
on. Councilman Williams and Councilwoman
Okay.
Wallman.
So, George, to me that may not be bad because it said the negotiation that we can put things in once you bring it back before us, right?
right, the difference would be if there's a restriction that's in, for example,
Already in the RFP.
only sale,
Right.
then if somebody comes in with a lease, we don't even review it, it's not even part of the consideration.
Correct.
If it's absent, if it's silent, leases, sales,
Right.
bartering, bring in the camel to exchange, whatever it is.
Right.
It'll be ranked by the committee, but you'll have all the proposals and you'll decide what you want. So that would be, but the problem here is, I guess, Richard, they told me no on
Well,
the
I went over and I
restriction.
checked the notes on your original motion, and it was just as you said it, which was to issue an RFP for a sale of the bowling alley, and we've clarified it just for an RFP for the bowling alley. That's what it said. It didn't say sale or lease. It just was over. So normally, without this discussion, you would just issue an RFP. Okay, the city of Homestead has a bowling alley.
Right.
It's got to be used for bowling for 8 years. You got to personally guarantee it for 8 years.
Right.
Give us a proposal. I mean, that's what we would normally do.
So
That's
that's
what
4
the
of you.
RFP is going to say. Guarantee it personally for 8 years,
Yeah.
90
Right.
days, only a bowling alley,
Yep.
and we're moving on down the road.
Right. That's
Okay,
what it would
let's-
normally say. Okay. That's what it's going to say.
Councilwoman Wallman, she was waiting in line, that's right. Go
All
ahead.
right. Thank you.
This is ridiculous. So I agree. I'll give in again and let's just move on. I'm just so tired of it. I want to see some family entertainment in our community. We have nothing. City of our size, we should have lots of things for families to do, and we have nothing except the movie theater, besides our parks. But so I'll agree with Mr. Williams, and let's just move on down the road.
Okay, we can move forward?
I'm going to.
Mr. Vice Mayor, you don't need a vote on that, do you?
I'm not voting on anything anymore.
Okay.
We're moving forward. There seems to be consensus. I'm not messing that up.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to car number 1053, artwork donations from Art South, tab 2.
Move it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Staff report.
Vice Mayor, the City of Homestead has received a request for acceptance of artwork donations from Art South to be placed for public display within the City of Homestead facilities. Approval of this item will provide for the PAC to review each of the pieces of artwork proposed to be donated by Art South to the city, to provide a recommendation to the City Council as to which, if any, pieces of artwork to accept and how best to display them. Once the PAC makes a recommendation, the matter will return to the City Council for action.
Discussion from council?
Yes, where are you going to put it, George?
We're storing right now, yeah, Dennis, where are we storing them right now?
At procurement.
So we actually have them in a short-term agreement to store the things because they had an emergency. And so we put them in storage. And then the idea would be for the committee to look over each piece, determine whether, if any of them or all of them should be donated to the city, and then it'll come to you, and then you can decide, and then also location.
Wait a minute. You're saying we've already have pieces
We have a temporary storage agreement with
that you've
them.
made,
Our stuff.
let me word this correctly. You made the decision.
The end of the year came, they were being evicted, and they said, we have no place to put the stuff, so we took possession of the stuff with the understanding that they assume all liability, and we're not going to keep it forever until you all decide what you want to do with it, whether you want to keep it or tell them, no, thank you.
Go to Ryan.
Okay, I'm not going to go there.
And what's, so the direction you need tonight is what? Whether or not we want to accept the art first and foremost, and then if we say yes, then how are we to determine where the art is being placed? And you're recommending that going to the Arts Committee, the Art and Public Places Committee? Is that where we are procedurally?
Vice Mayor, the direction we're looking for is more or less if you want to accept the art, and then we'll bring it to the committee, see what places they would like to put them at, or they're not feasible for any places that the committee feels. So more or less, we're looking for direction for us to go ahead and take these possession, and then let our committee find a home for them.
Okay, and it's just, there's no cost to us. Is that
But if
correct?
you say no and you don't want them, after the committee has reviewed them, then everything goes back.
Okay.
What committee will review them?
The Public Art Committee.
Everybody
If I
up
want a
here.
nice decorative piece and my new office when the city hall is built, I don't get to say what.
Okay, Councilwoman
What's
Wallace.
the liaison position? Yeah, well,
I get
you
first
could-
choice.
My only-
Councilwoman.
decision.
My only concern is that, you know, I understand why we have to have them now. I understand that, because they were being evicted, and it was a shame, and all that other stuff, but, when I read my book, I understand that each council person would be, putting forth a name to be on the committee to review
We've already done it.
the art pieces.
You've done that at what
You
meeting?
submitted a name.
Well, I know that, but hasn't that expired?
It expires at the term of the mayor, all committees.
Yeah.
But they continue on until, they're either replaced or not.
Until we see
Charter
another
says
committee.
all terms expire
Yeah.
at the term of the mayor. That's what the charter says. Isn't that right, Richard?
Yeah.
Well, code, but
It also
whatever.
says that they
Serve until this
they serve
replaced.
until the
Right.
new appointments are made.
Well, I'm assuming that since the mayor has put forth new, you know, his committee assignments, that all the boards were going to be changed.
Right.
Well, he's coming in the middle, so
Mayor.
it's not fair to ask him, I don't know. But if I could just go
Yeah,
on.
go ahead, Councilwoman.
If, let's just say we are, each council person is putting forth a name for the new committee, what happens if that committee says, I don't see a place for any of this artwork? It will be their responsibility to pick it up and
Yes.
do what they want to do
Right, so
with it?
this item does not mean you're taking possession of anything. We've allowed them to temporarily store this material, and then you can tonight say, you know what, we don't even want to have a process, get it out of here.
Okay.
Or you can say, you know what, let's have this committee review it and then bring a recommendation back to the mayor and council, and then their recommendation may be, get it out of here, or it may be, we want this piece, but not that piece, and also, if we want this piece, where should it go? And then ultimately, you can decide, well, we like this piece, but we don't like that other piece that they recommended, and also, we like this piece, but they said they want it here, we want it over there. So ultimately, you'll make the decision on all of it. It's just a function of, at the end of the year, they were being evicted, and we tried to at least find some way to preserve it until you all made a decision on what you wanted to do with it, if anything.
And one of the reasons I'm concerned is because in the literature provided to us, there were a few pieces that were broken, and so I'm glad to know that there's a process in place, so I can agree to that.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Then I guess I also hear from Councilwoman Waldman is that to fulfill this board properly, we would all need to resubmit names or ask the person that we've already seated to continue on with their spot.
This is regards to the PAC
Art and
committee?
public places.
Art and public places.
It's all committees.
Of course, you would have a vacant spot.
Right, I agree.
unless-
Submit the names of
Right.
your choice, and I'll follow through with the name of my choice, and I apologize for not.
It would be everybody here would need to resubmit.
Here's my concern with that. If then we subject that to all committees then, and that's not what I would like to do. We will subject that to, that each person will always give a name. It's different from the Centennial Committee, you know, that made sense. But if we already have persons who are working within that, and then I think the charter gives specific guidelines of who could be on that committee. They have to have some type of, or is that?
Right. But I think if you want to, and if I may, Mayor, I think if you want, like your Southwest Advisory Committee, all you would do is those people would submit a letter to Patty again like they did in the future.
I'm just saying, my issue is that if I start submitting names on your committee, you know, you've already worked with certain people on your committee.
Right, but
And
the
you
Art and Public
already-
Places ordinance says that each council member is to select one person, if I, right, correct, James, when we wrote the ordinance or the language for
Well,
it?
there's actually very specific criteria.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hold on, one at a time.
Seven members, 2 individuals chosen from the, okay. Each member of the city council recommend a member to the PAC, which shall consist of 7 members and may include
Correct.
2 individuals chosen from the following disciplines: landscape architecture, professional artist, a private citizen knowledgeable in art, and a private citizen from the development committee. The membership shall otherwise be provided. So it says may include, but it's each person, each member of the city council shall recommend a member to the PAC.
Question.
Yes, sir.
That's only for that committee, right?
Yes.
That's not any of the other
Special,
committees?
that's a special section of that committee.
Well, that's what I was saying, that I knew there was some type of limitations or qualifications of certain persons serving on there. I wouldn't feel comfortable selecting somebody and not qualified according, even though it says may or may not. So that was my only concern. You already have persons that are chosen.
Well, we've all chosen people before that still sit. The only one that I believe would
Mine is
maybe
not active, so I already know.
would
that.
like to, you know, would has not appointed somebody would be Mayor Porter, and so he would have certainly have a position open. And at some point, you appointed somebody, Jimmy. I cannot remember.
After they don't show up for 3 meetings, they're off the board automatically.
Right.
I know mine is not active.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just one on the committee to structure we're talking about, not the structure, but the actual Art and Public Places Committee. I know that we've had a problem getting a quorum for that particular committee. I did have 1 or 2 artists that came forth and wanted to present and try to put up some art in the community, and they were never able to get a board together so that they could have a quorum to meet to even discuss the matter. So I guess that would be my one concern. I guess back to the issue at hand here, and that is, I'm okay either making the decision as the council. I'm also okay on pushing it out to this board as far as having the board determine what we want to keep and where we want to put it, with a caveat that as long as the board actually is able to meet and we're able to make some decisions here in a timely manner. So,
Right.
Mr. Burgess?
We've also got to remember that we collect, general services collects fees that goes into an account that is to be dispersed at some point when that committee would get together and come up with some sort of master plan that they were working on, or some ideas brought to them. So it's not just a committee for this and solely this. It's going to be a committee to disperse funds in the future as we look to put art out into the city somewhere. whether it be a waterfall feature or something like that, or whatever, paint a building or whatever it would be. So it's the disbursements on that type of stuff also. And I don't know the exact number, but there's beginning to get some money in there that we could truly do a really, really nice feature of some sort to set the city out there.
And they come back as recommendations to the council, much like a planning and zoning board recommendation to the council. Obviously, council can choose to abide by that recommendation or vary from that, correct? So, Vice Mayor, I don't know, we're just doing the discussion
then I would
part
just say that
on tab 2, right?
I don't know who you have. Mayor, just for clarification, and I guess I would say to the council members here, if they're not aware of who they've appointed, or if they would like to reappoint somebody, then please do it as soon as possible so that we can get this committee full again and up and running and doing what it's supposed to be doing for the city. Because like I said, there are some funds that have accumulated. Now we have this project in front of them that needs to be taken care of, so there is some tasks for them to start looking and working towards.
Okay, Vice Mayor, finish it off. What was the motion? Was there a motion?
No, there's no, this was just for discussion on the artwork donations from Art South. So we've kind of been talking around the issue, but I think the term needs to be whether or not we want to accept this artwork from Art South. If the answer is yes, how do we want to determine where it goes and who puts it up? Or do we want to say, no, we don't want the artwork, thank you, but we're not interested?
Just to clarify, we're not asking you to accept it now.
Right.
All we're asking you to say is it okay for the committee to look at the stuff and then make a recommendation to you, and then you decide whether you want to keep any or all of it and where you want it, as opposed to telling us tonight, we don't even want to look at the stuff, tell them to get it out of there. So either way.
I love all the pieces. I think.
And George, Mr. Burgess, thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, all of the artwork's been cataloged, so if there is any damage, we would not be held responsible.
And
but
we have an
doesn't put
agreement
any
to-
kind of hardship upon the city storing it.
Dennis, why don't you describe the agreement we have?
Let me give him a mic on. We had a hardless contract with them, saying that we won't be liable for anything. So it will be just stored until you guys make the decision. So we won't be held responsible.
And the reason this is coming to you before you now is because they are city facilities and we're holding private property, so we didn't want to hold that too long without you weighing in, because if you told us tonight you didn't want us to hold it, then we could get it out of there.
But I didn't hear my question. Does it present a hardship to the city holding it? Thank you.
No.
Okay, what's the direction
Mayor.
from the council?
Hold it
Hold it
until
we get it.
the committee reviews it?
Right. Well, we need to make time certain. We can't have a committee that won't come together and sit there for 6, 8, 10, 12 months and have this stuff sitting around.
Whatever your pleasure is.
With the permission from council, what I'll do as the mayor is write a letter to the individuals that you all have appointed to the committee. I'll get my appointment in place, and we'll draft a letter basically requesting that we need their participation. And if they're unable to participate, please let us know, and we can go back to the drawing board just to kind of express the importance of having them on the committee. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
Okay?
Okay, that's proper direction, and we're fine with that. So
Okay. All right, sir. Okay, any other discussion on that item? We'll move to tab 3, correct? Mr. Manager, tab 3.
Mayor, Councilman Williams, on behalf of Bishop McAllen, is requesting that mayor and council authorize the city manager to approve a waiver of building permit renewal fees in the amount of $4,055 for the reissue of expired master permit 12020312 and $1,260 for the reissue of expired electrical permit 130-20551 related to 5,000 square feet of interior building renovations for 156 West Mowry.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so very much. I'm very glad that hopefully we're able to help them out. It's really their contractor really didn't keep up with it and you know, that he's trying to build his church out, and it's just been a little tough trying to get through the process. The permit's expired, so hopefully we can vote on this in a positive manner to help him out.
Vice Mayor, that's all, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a chance to, I spoke with Mr. Cordino earlier today. The only concern that I have, one, I believe that I heard the whole story as far as how the contractor and all that. I think that in this case, it's outrageous to make him have to pay these additional or new permitting fees again. The only concern I had and asked Mr. Cordino about was procedurally setting some sort of a precedent going forward, you know, where people come in and start asking for waiver of fees. Now, granted, this particular individual has a hardship given the facts of his case. But what I understand it is that what we could also do is just have him pay the extension fee, the $100 extension fee, and that eliminates the procedural process portion and still eliminates the hardship. Is that correct?
That's generally correct. We had a staff discussion on the matter today regarding the issue, and the permits that have expired are within the 6 months after the permit expiration date, which allows by the code to have a renewal based on a $100 fee. If it was beyond the 6 months after the expiration date, it would have to do the full permit reissuance. But since it's within 6 months, we probably need to clarify the code and write some explanations because it's not crystal clear. But what we believe it to be would be that the applicant would just need to pay a $100 renewal fee to renew that permit since it's within the 6 month time frame after the expiration.
Okay. And again, the $100 is irrelevant to me, but it's more of the setting the precedent going forward, making sure that no one has anything to point back to and say, hey, look, you guys waived it once, why don't you waive this fees for me again? And this way we can say, no, he just followed the extension, there was an issue with the contractor, there was a time delay, but ultimately he just extended it and everything kind of flows. So, but whatever the will of council is fine by me.
That wasn't how it was presented to me, and the code is a little muddy, needs to be cleaned up, because if that was the purpose, he wouldn't have. If $100 was the issue, I'm pretty sure. You know, but what I'm saying is, within the life of the code, you know, and what the explanation was, that was not presented to us. It had expired. He had missed the deadline to do for the $100, and so that's why it's here.
No, you're correct.
If that is the case, then I don't know who's liaison over code, but clean that language up a little bit so it doesn't muddy it up anymore. And when cases like this happen again, then you got some regress for it. So I'm fine. If that's what the answer is now, then this could be off the table. I know the congregation is here. Would that be all, you know, $100 that y'all can do, right?
Well, just a little bit of discussion before we go, if we could, because to be consistent with the message from Development Services, there's also, when you do make a mistake, whatever, there's a penalty, and the penalty's double the code, double the fee, right? So if we're going to stay consistent, it's $100 plus the $100 penalty. That is my understanding. So instead of being the $100 to reopen the permit, there's a penalty. Again, not to penalize anybody, but to stay consistent with the process.
What that penalty would result from, if there was work done without a permit, there is a permit that is existing for this project. All that they're having to do is reissue it, renew it, since it's within the 6 month time frame, so it would only be a $100 fee.
Okay.
It would be for each permit, since it's 2 permits, so it would be $200.
Okay.
But what we would do is we will bring forward clarification of the permit fee schedule to you at a future date, so that it's crystal clear in the code how it's to be interpreted and how it's to be reviewed in these cases of renewal. But in this case, it will only require a $100 fee.
Okay, perfect, because I just look for consistency across the board as much as possible. Thank you, Mr. Williams, for bringing it forward.
Yeah, $100 fee per permit, so there's 2 permits.
Okay, fine, so we're from 4,000 plus to the 1 to 200 number. So any discussion from council? Mr. Manager, okay with direction on that?
Well, the question is, does that need to be on the council meeting next time, or is there direction needed? Because I'm a little confused. The agenda item says you're waiving $4,000 worth, $5,000 worth of fees, and now you're saying it's only $100. So why is this on the agenda?
It's because of the way the code's written, there's been some misinterpretation of it, so what we will bring forward is clarification of the code section, but this item doesn't need to go anywhere any further, from what I understand. It can be done internally through the building department.
So was
No
there
waivers are required.
Was a change in position from when this went out to today? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Manager, it will come back in another form, or you're just going to handle it in-house?
It will be handled in-house, but in the future, we will bring a fee schedule change to you that clearly specifies the modification, so the language is clear.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Williams?
Yes, well then, and if that's the case, then this doesn't need to be on an agenda item then.
We're moving on.
So, it is non-valid.
Right.
We're moving on. Okay, we'll move on to tab 4, which committee of the whole, minutes of the meeting. Is there a second? Y'all stop eating cookies. Okay. Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Tab 5. Staff report, Mr. Manager.
The mayor and council had previously approved the attached resolution which enables city vendors and service providers to host city council and certain staff members at dinners being held in conjunction with various conferences. This waiver is authorized by section 2-11.1W, prohibition on acceptance of travel expenses of the Miami-Dade County Ethics Code. City vendors and service providers have extended invitations to the city council and certain staff to attend meals hosted in whole or in part by those vendors or service providers in conjunction with the conferences listed in the attached resolution. Section of the Code of Ethics generally prohibits city officers and employees from accepting any travel expenses, including but not limited to meals from any city vendors or service providers. However, this provision also recognizes that such restriction may be waived by majority vote of the city council.
Procedural, correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion? Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 6. Mr. Manager, sorry.
Mayor, staff recommends that the mayor and council authorize city manager to extend the existing interim contract with Government Services Group for an additional 2 months for the amount of $16,320. An RFP has been advertised for CDBG grant administration and project delivery, and an award is expected to be presented to mayor and council in mid-February 2014. Government Services Group has been providing interim CDBG grant administrative services from October through December 2013. This grant extension will allow for continued interim services for January and February 2014.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments? Mr. Williams?
Carlos, I'm sorry, Mr. Manager. Is this with the same company that we had some of the issues with before? What I mean by issues, the lateness, how they prepared timely advertisement and being inclusive. Is this with the same company?
It's the same organization that's been our grant administrator in the past year, yes. But I'm not aware of when the timeliness or some of the issues that...
Oh, no, we had, yeah. You were here. We had a big discussion on that, about them, and maybe I'm by myself. Councilwoman, he's liaison over there.
Which group is this? Because there were two different groups.
PMG was the one that did the comp plan and the action plan for this coming year. This organization is the grant administrator. It's Calvin Knowles is the individual that works for this organization. This is just interim. It's just for 2 months. We did put out an RFP for services, and we will be coming back to award.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm comfortable with him.
Who was the other organization, the one that was with, before that we had,
You originally, at least since I've been here, it was Nancy Phillips.
yeah, that's not this group,
That's
is it?
not this, no.
Oh, okay, but then I'm straight then. As long as it's not them.
Okay, any other discussion? Did we have a motion on that, Madam Clerk? We did? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7. Mr. Manager?
Mayor, the Finance Department recommends that the council authorize the city attorney to initiate litigation to compel Galata Inc. to transfer certain real property back to the city.
Is there any discussion from council?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion from council? All in favor? I'm sorry, Mr. Williams?
You say, so, I know that we had this issue, George, we've got to go, because of the contract, we've got to go back and,
And we've had a difficult time getting cooperation since you all made your decision, so we're going to have to, unfortunately...
what has transpired?
Carlos?
Since the council agreed to, at the recommendation of the Finance Department, to terminate the agreement, we've been in constant contact trying to get the attorney and Galata to basically revert the properties back to the city. After numerous attempts and promises that they were going to do that, it's failed. So our next option is to basically take legal action.
Right, and I saw this item coming on the agenda, and I took it on myself. I had not been in contact with their attorney. I took it on myself to pick up the phone, call their attorney, telling them that it was, that we had been trying to get these deeds, that we certainly had no interest in litigating with them, but we needed the deeds to the property back. If you could please call me and get me copies. I never heard back from him, but I did, before we signed off on the car, I did pick up the phone and try to call the attorney myself, but he didn't return the call. And I know that Ed Soto from my office had been in contact with him, and Carlos had been in contact with him.
So once we get the properties back,
And
you all will bring back a plan?
Pardon?
Once the properties are back to the city, you all will bring back a plan? How we're going to dispose of
Yes,
the
if we
properties?
recall, ultimately the goal is to put these properties back and sell them, but they're currently occupied. So until the current agreements that we would acknowledge those tenants that are there, but once they vacate or those leases terminate, our goal is to put them back and sell them.
Okay.
Anything else?
Question, please.
Mr. Burgess?
The occupants that are there, they're paying us, correct, not Galata?
That's correct. We are receiving the rents.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So we're on item 8. Mr. Manager, staff report.
Mayor, staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase two 2014 Ford F-150 4x4 short bed pickup trucks. Total purchase cost is $47,526. This is part of the capital improvement plan. This purchase will replace two aging Ford F-150 pickup trucks. Each of one of these vehicles have over 200,000 miles and meet fleet thresholds for replacement. One vehicle is a 2000 and the other is a 2001 model.
What department, George?
Customer service.
Catherine, go ahead.
Customer service.
Question is which department, and the answer is customer service.
Customer.
Catherine,
Yes.
you want to just describe what?
Vehicles were for the serviceman and customer services.
Oh, okay.
They're old.
That's fine. I just want to know what department, because I didn't see it.
Okay, any other questions from council? Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Any final comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 9, waiver of fees.
Move it.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, the Florida Rockstars, Inc. is requesting mayor and council authorize city manager to approve a waiver of usage fees for the use of Harris Field Pavilion, the amount of $340, and $105 banner fees for the South Dade Food and Rock Festival on February 1st, 2014. The fourth annual South Dade Food and Rock Festival is focused on bringing 50 local homestead businesses and restaurants together with music and food. This year's South Dade Food and Rock Festival will help raise awareness and funding for Relay for Life of Homestead. According to City's Code, Chapter 20, Section 20-11, Fees and Charges, City Council sets fees and has the right to waive parks and recreation fees by majority vote.
Okay, Mr. Williams has a motion for approval. Is there a second? Mr. Monal? Okay, Mr. Monal is seconded. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, just a quick question. The intent for this is to raise what? Awareness? What is the intent of?
The applicant is here, correct? The organizers?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the? For Relay for Life, right?
Richard, the little red button, if you'll push it till the light turns green. No.
It's not working. Oh, now it's working. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Basically, what we're doing is we try to always raise money for charities. We've done for Patches, we've done for the dog charities, we've done for autism, and now we're doing for Relay for Life. Whatever the city can comp to us that we don't have to pay, we're writing a check directly to the charity. So either way, we have to fit the bill, but I'd rather see the charity get the money, than us, and we're trying every way we can to raise money for them. This is just one of the many avenues that we're taking. So basically, if the fees are waived, the monies that are waived will go directly to the charity.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of explains it.
Okay.
And
you've had, you said you've done, how long have you been doing this now?
This is in Homestead at Harris Field, this is our 6th show.
Oh, okay.
And 4th on the rock and roll. And the only correction I got to make is we had over 70 businesses last year, and we're hoping to break that. We're bringing local businesses together through music. We're promoting the Living Daylights out of Homestead, and I'm very, very proud to say that almost 100% of every vendor, every restaurant, no food trucks, every sponsor, and all Homestead. We're trying to keep this show as totally 100% Homestead as we can. And occasionally you got to bring in somebody for, something, but 99% of the show is all Homestead businesses, and we're trying to support the community and trying to do the right thing. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor, you go ahead.
I just had a question. Are they not-for-profits? Because I know we've had this discussion many times before about waiver of fees, use of our parks, and I know we've kind of narrowed the focus a little bit down, saying that if you're not-for-profit, then we'll consider it, but if you're not, are they not-for-profit, this organization?
They are not nonprofit. They're full profit.
Okay.
And in the past, according to that policy, they have paid the fees, so this would be a change in direction from previous policy, but they did make a request, so
Okay.
we forward all requests to you.
And again, I've been to the event. It's a great event. It's good for the city. It's good promotion. It's a very good thing. The slippery slope that, I've talked about a couple different times when we start waiving fees and trying to come up with a policy and a procedure, and so that we can treat one fair and all fair. And we've kind of at least narrowed it down at this point to not-for-profits that are requesting, and if they're not-for-profit, then I'm not going to be able to support it as, based on the policy that we've kind of loosely established.
Mr. Burgess.
Thank you. I was wondering if Mr. DiBendetto could come back. I was just wondering, you mentioned Patches and a dog charity and autism. I was just wondering what kind of money, charity, donations they received, and what would be maybe an average for what?
It's a twofold question. Number one, depending on the amount of effort the charity puts into it. Okay, we do have a nonprofit corporation, but we don't use that. But we do have it. Ours is a profit corporation. Have we ever made money? No. Has every single charity that we've dealt with walked away with a check? Yes, sir. Sometimes 2,000, sometimes 4,000. But if a charity wants to take what we're doing, they can easily walk away with $10,000. We're giving the charity 100 free tickets. We're paying for the rodeo for them to be there for 3 days out of our pocket. Every ticket they sell is their money. We're giving them so many opportunities for them to make money off of our charity and what we're doing. But if they do nothing except, at the end of the day, stick their hand out and get a check, they're still going to get a check regardless of how much money I make. But bottom line is, the amount of money they walk away with is the amount of effort they put into it. I give them all the opportunities in the water. I can lead them to water, but I can't make them drink. So to answer your question, theoretically, they could walk away with thousands, or they could walk away with a couple thousand. I mean, it's a matter of effort. The least amount that we've ever raised, I gotta say, is probably $2,500, maybe a little bit more than that, with zero effort from the charity. And with that being said, if Relay for Life does nothing, they'll probably still walk away with a couple thousand, regardless whether I make money or I don't. But if they do put effort out, I'm giving them all the tools they could possibly want. And I understand the thing about for-profit corporations and non-profit, but in this situation, it's kind of irrelevant because the money that the city waives goes directly to the charity. So, with that being said, either way, I'm paying the bill, so if you don't want to give it to me...
Make yourself a non-profit corporation, if it's irrelevant.
Well, I could do that, but, you know, we could do a lot of things in life. I don't know. I'm being honest, I'm right up front. I mean, they can, you know, whatever, I don't know what to say. I'm doing something that I feel is giving back to the community in Homestead, which that's all I've really ever done. And I'm trying to make some points upstairs, some karma. For me, it's not about money, because if it was, I'm just going to tell you something, my show, if you come to it, VIP tables, tablecloths, landscaping, lighting, incredible sound system, incredible visuals, band, I mean, no, and I'm not knocking it, but nobody puts a show on like I do. But I don't do it to go out there to try to make money. I go out there because I want to put on the best show in Homestead. Every business that's a part of my business, I mean, my thing that I do, is proud to be part of it. And with all that being said, I don't know. I just feel like I'm doing the right thing, and I don't really think it's about profit for me. And to get involved in a non-profit or this profit, that isn't my concern. And who knows, I may make some money someday, but that isn't why I'm in it. So I'm not going in here and saying, oh, this is non-profit and this, but once again, I mean, I can give, everybody that works at my show is paid. I mean, all the way down the road. Everything is, nothing is given to me. I'm not looking for anything for anybody, but I do put the best show on in town, and I make Homestead proud. And anybody that's been, I haven't lost a sponsor in 4 years that's gone to one of my shows. I've had sponsors but didn't go, but a sponsor that's actually gone to one of my shows and seen what I've done, I haven't lost one in 4 years. It used to take me 3.5 months to sell this show. I'm doing it in 30 days now. Repeat business, it's a good thing for the community, and whatever y'all decide, I mean, the ball is basically, do you want to give money to charity or don't you? Either way, it doesn't matter to me because I'm stroking a check. I would feel good writing a check to the charity so that I can raise more money, because for me, that's the whole reason I'm kind of in this, is to do good.
Any other discussion? Ms. Waldman?
I do.
As chair of Parks and Recs, you know, we've talked about this for a long time, that, you know, we're trying to set forth some sort of policy. That is, for example, the community, they're charging to, you know, nonprofit or for-profit. To my knowledge, we haven't agreed for-profit time, if ever. So it makes it hard because Relay for Life is near and dear to my heart, big time. I chaired it for years, and I just asked a question as to if we had any money in the budget for Relay for Life. We do have $2,500 in our city budget for Relay for Life. So with that being said, I know I, as an individual, I'm trying to contribute through our city team, and we have a lot of plans for fundraisers, and anybody can offer their ideas up or whatever. But because of the precedent, I have to stick to the nonprofit. But we're going to do everything we can. I know we are. And I'm speaking for everybody, because I know your hearts are in it, to help Relay for Life, because Elvis, myself, everybody in this diocese has had somebody close to them that has dealt with cancer. So I just wanted to let you know how I feel.
Fair call.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with you, Councilwoman Wallman. I think if we put the policy in place, we should move forward with policy, because we don't want to set a bad precedent, and we're moving forward with nonprofits. Mr. DiBenedetto, I thank you for choosing the City of Homestead as a backdrop for this venue. I think it's great for businesses as well as the nonprofits who will be beneficiaries of part of the proceeds. I just have one concern about the nonprofits. You mentioned, do we want to give to nonprofits or we don't? We do want you to give to nonprofits, but I was contacted from some nonprofits that said that they didn't receive anything, but you mentioned that you wrote a check for all of the nonprofits that you publish that you would support. I just want to, if you want to speak to that, just want to set the record straight as far as, are the nonprofits receiving proceeds, or have they not, or something occurred? Just speak to that.
Said that we didn't write a check to a nonprofit.
Well, I don't think it's fair to do that.
Oh, I'll get a canceled check and prove it. There's not one. Our last show that we did in Homestead, I had 5 different charities that fed on me. I gave them tickets, I did other things, I did all the kinds of stuff. I back one charity, but any charity that wants to be part of my event, I help them. But there isn't one charity, and whoever said I didn't give a check, that's a lie. I can prove it. I have documentation on everything, and I can tell you the people that we've dealt with. So who's ever telling you that is not telling you the truth, and I'm right here on the record. Let them step forward. If they were a charity that were with us and we didn't give them money, please, feel free to say it. I have nothing to hide.
I thank you for your response. That's why I mentioned it, because I wanted you to put it on the record. So
oh, it's on the record.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that all, man? Okay, well, the question is to whether or not we're going to waive the fees. The motion was to waive fees.
Actually, whether to put it on the consent agenda for the next meeting, or if there's no support for this at all, we could just withdraw the item completely.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to
move it on.
Okay. So any other discussion at this point? So roll call, all in favor of moving it forward to the next item, next agenda? All opposed? Aye.
Aye.
So 4, 5. You need a roll call? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
No.
Councilwoman Waldman?
No.
Councilman Burgess? Vice Mayor Shelley?
No.
Motion fails.
I didn't vote. No.
I'm sorry, Mayor
I voted no.
Porter.
I'll vote no. Okay.
Mayor,
Motion
if
failed.
I can interrupt for 1 second.
Yes, sir.
And I don't need an answer to this tonight, but procedurally, if you would all prefer us not to move forward on any for-profit that asks for waivers unless a majority asks us to put it on the agenda, we don't necessarily have to keep bringing the for-profit ones to you. We've done that just because anybody that's asked for a waiver, we've just brought them, but if you prefer us not to bring for-profits, we're happy to comply.
Can I just add as a discussion piece further down the road?
Sure.
Is, we waive a lot of fees. And I guess my question is, are our fees too high? Should we look at reducing fees, or should we just collect the fees? I mean, there's got to be some discussion as to why is the constant waiver of fees in my mind. So the question would be, as a discussion in the board here, the group, is, are the fees too high? Because why are we constantly waiving fees if they're not too high? So maybe that's something we run through Parks and Rec, because usually those are Parks and Rec issues that we waive. So just part is to kind of so we could get our arms around why we're waiving fees constantly. Is it because they're too high, or is there some other circumstance? So just as a future discussion, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So,
Mayor.
where am I?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Could perhaps Dennis could put some kind of study, ask other cities what they charge, or municipalities or county or whatever, just for a general, that we could read and see in front of us.
Councilman Burgess, when I became director, I did all the searches around what our fees were, and then that's when we raised the fees when I became director, and we did very limited. We were not even close to them.
Okay,
So we're under most of people's rent.
Thank you.
okay, so we're already under.
Yes,
So
sir.
we don't need to go through that exercise.
No, sir, I already did that.
Okay, so why do we waive fees all the time?
Can I speak to that,
Yes, sir.
please? I know the fees that I bring forward are basically through culture events like the Martin Luther King breakfast, and for some of the residents of Homestead, which it has become a city event. So when I bring fees to be waived, it has become a city event. It's just like Martin Luther King breakfast. Then with the culturally, with the like a few moments ago, with the Martin Luther King movie night in Blakely Park, it's for the community residents to take advantage of that. That is not often done, mostly in the southwest section. Most of the movies in the park are, done at Losner Park. So for culturally and for some of the residents in the southwest, I bring it forward to add to the community and the quality of life is basically what my concept is. And then they're nonprofit, and they've been around for 20+ years, doing it over. So that's my basis. But other than that, I don't bring any other fees.
No, I agree, and I think there's core signature things that we do as a city, whether it be Martin Luther King, whether it be a rodeo, whether it be Veterans Day, some of these things that are core issues. But then when you start peeling out of those core issues, we go areas maybe that we don't need to go necessarily, because that was my question. So it was either trying to find some way to cap our exposure for park renovations, because if we never collect a usage fee for using the facility, there's never ever any dollar available to go back and renovate or repair or paint or replace some of the things that those fees are put in place for. So that's really just what I'm trying to figure out, is how can we, if not budget our exposure? Say, if we have our signature events, those are the things that we're going to consistently look at, possibly waiving fees, or put a dollar figure on the table that says we're going to contribute back to the community, to the not-for-profits, in this case, possibly not-for-profits, at a cap of something, so that once we get to that number, we have some closure. Just as a discussion part down the road, I'm sorry I got off track here, but that was what I agree with what you're saying, Mr. Williams. We do have signature events that we want to support consistently. So that'll be a future discussion. So that item is behind us. So what am I on now? Item 12? Sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Richard.
My record has been tarnished here tonight, and I think it's unfair that if somebody said I didn't give them money, and they're going to make a statement that's going to make me look bad. I've been in this town since 1959, and I have one hell of a reputation if anybody knows me. And if somebody's going to say that I didn't do something, it's only fair that we say who said that, so that I don't walk out of here where people have doubt and they go away, yeah, he comes up here and he says this and he says that. No, no, no. I want to back up what I'm saying. And unless I'm told who said it, that I can prove otherwise, I walk out of here and people think that I'm just some kind of clown that's trying to make money off of charities, and I don't like that.
Sir, through the mayor, I don't think your reputation was tarnished. I think
Sure, somebody said that I did something and I didn't give them money.
it was tarnished. I
Mr.
think you clarified it and you did a great job at it. So I don't think anyone has any doubt about your motives for this event. You clarified
If
it.
a statement is made, it should be backed up, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, all right, we're moving on to the next item. Where am I?
It's tab 10, Mayor.
Tab 10, thank you, sir.
Thus,
Audubon Park, Mr. Manager.
Staff's recommendation that the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase and install ecstatic and anti-electrostatic and antimicrobial ultra playground turf ADA compliant artificial turf at Audubon Park. Superior Park Systems, Inc. quotes the artificial turf off the Palm Beach County School Board contract number 10C54B at the same price, terms, and conditions. Total purchase and installation is $53,358.75. Project is part of the city's of Homestead's capital improvement plan.
Questions or comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm so glad to see this come before us, because I was out there on the campaign trail, and every house I went to, they had something to say about park over in the villages. And so I know since we have taken it over, I'm glad to see this come. So I wish this was on camera so that the people could. So I'm going to pull this off. I'm gonna pull this off the consent agenda next, so I can see what I just said, so they'll see it.
You got it. Any other comments? Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Patricia, did you say anything? Oh, okay, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 11.
Yes.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, it's staff's recommendation the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a permit with South Florida Water Management District for the Biscayne Everglades Greenway Trail Project. City of Homestead is seeking approval to apply for a permit to enable the city to design and install a bike trail known as Biscayne Everglades Greenway Trail. City of Homestead will be responsible for the maintenance of the landscaping and trail for the life of the permit. The MOU between National Parks Conservation Association and the City of Homestead project was approved by Council June 11, 2013, to accept $15,000 from NPCA to help implement the Homestead Greenway Bike project of up to a quarter-mile section along Maori Drive Canal right-of-way from Southwest 137th Avenue to the west, which is a highly visible section of the route. The scope of this project is to improve the trail with even gravel, removal of invasive plants, landscaping with native plants, and signage.
Any comments or questions?
Just want to say, it's about time. I know Councilwoman Waldman been working on this for 12 years. We went to D.C. lobbying for monies and stuff for this thing, so I'm glad to see. So congratulations that we're moving forward with that.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion?
Yes.
Move it. Second.
Moved and second. Okay, it's properly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 12.
Mayor, the Homestead Rodeo Association is requesting the mayor and council authorize the city manager to approve waiver of $5,000 bond and may likewise waive the other costs and fees described herein for the 65th Annual Homestead Rodeo on January 24th, 25th, and 26th, 2014. $2,532.61 road closure fees. Estimated cost, $340 Sally Woods Pavilion. Usage fee, $255 banner on Chrome Avenue.
Move it.
Is there a second? Okay, moved and properly seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
You got a question?
No, you're already passed. Don't say anything. Quit while you're ahead.
We already talked.
Can you hear me? Okay. First off, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. For those of you who don't know me, I won't take up a lot of your time. I'm Joey Barber. I'm the Arena Director for the Homestead Rodeo Association. Just wanted to thank Council. The rest of the board's at the arena right now in the middle of a meeting. Unfortunately, we won't be able to attend the actual council meeting because we're having an event that night. Real quick, what I wanted to touch on is it is our diamond year. We are the oldest active sporting event in South Florida. Professional sporting event. Let me add, we are a sanctioned event. This year we're kind of going out on a limb with advertisement and a lot of different things, which Council, I hope to see everybody there, and we'll work on the tickets. We're waiting for our tickets to get in to hand those out. We're working on some grants, and we're trying to look for other entities to help us out. We are a non-for-profit organization.
Say that again.
For the record, we are a non-for-profit organization. You know, so we're trying to expand. I think the city of Homestead, they've helped us with the lighting issue that we've had, which is going to open up more opportunity to use the arena. Just so you know, it will not just be equestrian or rodeo related. We have a couple of youth soccer teams that want to use the arena for practice. And there's a couple other things that as soon as it's finalized and we go through the proper procedures, you know, we'll be able to come back and present to the city, just so you know exactly what's going on. But on behalf of the Homestead Rodeo Association and myself, I'd like to thank the city past, present, and future dealings with you. And we look forward to seeing you Wednesday night. The things start at the arena. Wednesday night is the mechanical buck-off. Thursday is family night, obviously the Queen coronation, and then Friday we go right into rodeo at 8 p.m. So thank you very much for your support, as usual, and we look forward to seeing all of you.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Joey, you got my favorite pink shirt on there. Are we still going to do Tough Enough?
Friday night is Tough Enough to Wear Pink.
Good.
Sunday is the Wrangler National Patriot, and Saturday is dedicated to Buster Tire.
All right. That's great.
You want to tell them what Tough Enough to Wear Pink
Tough
means?
Enough to Wear Pink came about with the PRCA about 5 or 6 years ago in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a cancer charity, Tough Enough to Wear Pink, obviously with the pink ribbon. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Trying to get that out of
And what we do is we raise money. We have raffles. We have, you can purchase a ribbon, and all the proceeds. Our charity is the Susan G. Komen for the Cure, and then our National Patriot on Sunday. Last year we donated, I believe it was $2,200 to Miami International Airport. The Veterans Affair has a room that retired military, active duty, and reservists can go and rest and watch TV by themselves or with their families during layovers and even prior to their flights.
And if I might say, Mayor, Buster Tire passed away last year, and he was one of our original little angels, and we took care of him. The Little Angel Foundation took care of him and all his needs that we could possibly for many, many years. So I'd like to ask you to please do a proclamation to present Saturday at the rodeo declaring Buster Tire Day, if that would be all right with you, Mayor.
That's fine. You set it up.
Thank you. Thank you. You folks have a wonderful evening, and like I said, we look forward to seeing you at a rodeo. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, council meeting is next Wednesday. So Thursday, we look forward to seeing you at Kids Night, the Family Night, the Little Britches, and actually a local Jade Sanders will be performing. So thank you for your time. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you starting next week.
Thank you. Okay, the last item is tab 13, Mr. Manager.
Mayor, it's staff's recommendation, Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution and authorize city manager to execute a contract grant agreement with the Children's Trust, Miami-Dade County for $400,000. Trust has provided grant funding to the city in order to provide comprehensive services to families that have been victims or exposed to violence since 2007. 2013 grant has been awarded to the city of Homestead after competitive process and can be renewed up to 3 years. The award for $400,000 and funds a program director and 6 case managers through 3 local providers, SOS, MUJER, and Familia. The grant period began on August 1st, 2013, and will end on July 31st, 2014. There is no match to this grant.
No matching. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Motion.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. City Manager, do we ever get any reports on how the grants have impacted these organizations and how many families or what comes out of it? Have they ever provided a written report or stats of the monies and how many families have been supported through that? Have they ever provided that to you, Mr. Manager?
I don't recall seeing one, but Chief, I don't know if they required to submit a report with the grant.
I don't think they do, but I know we have them.
Yeah.
We keep a running stat on the family we take care of.
Yeah,
We can get that information for you if you
Yeah,
like.
what I'm saying is that I know we subsequently approve these like automatically, because of course we want the money. But then it's always good to know that that the dollars in which we're accepting and how many families, not so much the integral details of each family, but what was done, just a written report like
Absolutely.
any organization will give us at the end of the year.
Absolutely. Chief?
We'll get there.
Perfect.
Okay, no other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else?
Yes.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I know there's hardly anybody here, but I just want to say happy birthday to my love. Today's his birthday.
Oh, thank you.
And, he's saying it out. And, this is the life of a councilwoman. Instead of taking him out for his birthday, he is sitting in a council meeting, eating well, it was actually pretty good.
Thank you, Addie.
Mamma mia. So happy birthday, darling.
And not to pile on here, but happy birthday, but also we had a blessed event in the Weiss family. I thought maybe Richard's son got married. Congratulations.
Okay, motion, is there a second?
I thought you had done.
Adjourn, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations. I want to show y'all something.